Hello, my beautiful book besties. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Delaney if you are new here. We are back with another monthly reading wrap up, and we're going to be talking about the 8 books that I read in the month of August. August was an interesting reading month for me. I started 2 of the biggest series that I've been procrastinating, so that was a big win, but overall I feel like I was in a little bit of a slump in August. I don't know, I think life was busy and then also reading just wasn't a priority for me. I believe I've found the root of the problem. I think I've been making really strict TBRs and trying to stick to them, and I put myself in a slump by trying to force myself to read a TBR rather than mood reading. So we're shifting gears for September. I'm not making a September TBR. I am going to be making kind of like a big general fall TBR and trying to choose reads from there, but so much flexibility. Like, I don't want to keep it rigid because it takes the fun out of reading, and I witnessed that with myself firsthand in August. Definitely had a little bit of a slump this past month, but we still managed to read 8 books, so we're going to talk about them. I say we just dive right in. I feel like wrap-ups can get really lengthy with me because your girl knows how to yap, so we're going to dive into the books and hopefully keep this short and sweet. I will try to not go super in-depth on the books that I read this month, but just kind of give you a brief overview of the plot and my thoughts and that fun stuff. So I started out the month with a super short novella, and I read Killjoy. So this is like book 0.5 in the A Good Girl's Guide to Murder series, and I actually read book 1, 2, 3 and then read this book, but this is like a prequel to book 1. I didn't enjoy this. I really didn't. It didn't give me anything. I don't love the series as a whole. I would say it's like a 3-star series. To like combine all the books, I would say it averages about 3 stars for me. This was a 2-star read for me. It really gave me nothing. It was just there. Like, I don't know. I feel like I could have never read this and been totally fine. So not the best way to kick off August, but it was super short, so I flew through it. I think I read it in one sitting, and I'm glad I read it because now I've read the complete series, but nothing phenomenal about this one. Then diving into one of the books I've been putting off for a very long time, that is Binding 13. This is the first book in the Boys of Tommen series, so I finally got to this. It was on my July TBR and I ended up not getting to it. I started it in July and then finished it in August. This was really, really good. It definitely was like a roller coaster of emotions. I will say at times it felt a little bit too long, which is why I've procrastinated continuing the series. I will be reading the full series. I have every intention to continue the series, but I feel like I needed a little bit of a break because I just was a little bit exhausted after reading this book, which is a super unpopular opinion. I know a lot of people fly through these and they're like, once you finish book 1, you won't be able to not jump into book 2. I personally didn't really have a problem not reading book 2. I felt like I needed to break it up a little bit, but I feel like I'm making it sound like I didn't enjoy the book. I still really enjoyed it. I gave it 4.5 stars, but it definitely was like a draining book. Like, it took a lot of energy, I would say, to read this book, which I feel like is often true with the first book in any series, because I personally feel like I am kind of like hyper vigilant on remembering characters and their roles and kind of like really trying to build the world because I know I'm going to be in it for so long, where like with standalones I just can kind of like enjoy the vibes and enjoy the plot. But when I know I'm starting a series, I almost feel like I'm prepping for a test. Like, I have to remember every detail in case it becomes important later. I don't know if anyone else is like that, but sometimes I feel like I ruin the first book in a series because I'm so focused on making sure I'm understanding everything fully. I don't know. I don't know if that makes any sense at all, but I feel like that was kind of what happened with this one. That said though, I'm very excited to continue. I have the rest of the series on my TBR for the fall time, so hopefully I will be able to at least make good progress, if not finish Boys of Tommen in the fall. I feel like it's kind of a good fall romance series, so fingers crossed that we'll make some more progress with that. I did really enjoy this. 4.5 stars. Lots of great quotes, lots of great dynamics and character development and romance and all the things. Really, really, really a great story. Just kind of like long, and my own issues with starting a series and being like super in my head about it. Speaking of starting a series and being super focused on the details and hyper vigilant and in my head about it, I did it, guys. I read ACOTAR. And I feel like I read this book twice. And I think that's part of why I didn't read as many books as normal this month, because Boys of Tommen, like Binding 13 and ACOTAR, took me a long time to read. I reread almost every single chapter in this book while I was actively reading it because I felt like I would get to the end of a chapter and be like, what just what happened? So I would go back and reread it or re-listen to it on audio. And so it took me a long time to read it, but I'm glad I did. I vlogged the entire thing. So if you missed the vlog, it is a spoiler vlog. So if you haven't read this yet and you intend to, don't watch it. But I did vlog the entire thing. So if you want to see like my reading journey of ACOTAR, I will be vlogging the rest of the books as well. I actually just started book 2. So that video will be coming out and the ACOTAR vlog is already up, like I said. But I'm excited. This definitely felt like a world building book. Like I felt like this I keep like losing my voice. What's happening? Definitely felt like this was like setting the scene for the rest of the series. There were parts where I felt like it was a little bit boring or a little bit slow. But I also see how those parts are going to be really important for continuing the series, because it's definitely like built a really solid foundation for the series to continue, and I can tell that it's going to get really good. So I'm excited for book 2, another series that I'm very intimidated by the length of the books, but we're going to continue, we're going to persevere, and another series that is on my fall TBR. I'm hoping to finish ACOTAR in the fall. We shall see how ambitious I am. I want to finish ACOTAR within the fall season. I'm hoping, everyone tells me after book 2 I won't want to put it down, so I'm hoping that's the case with me, but that's where we're at as of now. I read ACOTAR and then I was like, I need a break. I need to just read like some fun romances, which you'll see I went on a little bit of a romance kick after this, but just reading like standalone romances and everything to kind of give my brain a little bit of a break, because Binding 13 and ACOTAR took every ounce of comprehension and energy out of my brain. So yes, I did enjoy both of them. I ended up giving ACOTAR 4 stars, I believe. And yeah, I'm excited to continue the series. That's really all I have to say. Well, that's not all I have to say. That's all I have to say here. If you want a ton of thoughts, just go watch the vlog. I'm not gonna repeat everything. Then, like I mentioned, as I mentioned, I jumped into kind of like some standalone romances for a little while. I read You With a View, and this has been on my TBR for a rather significant amount of time. And my dog's yelling. Who's at my front door? Oh, it's just a package. I had a very scary moment earlier this week, and so now when anyone comes to my front door, I like freak out a little bit inside. Anyways, jumping into that little standalone romance kick that I was talking about, You With a View was first up, and I thoroughly enjoyed this. I was shocked to find out that this was a debut romance. Like this author has such a gift. I thought it was so fun. The banter was flirty. It was also emotional. I loved the dynamic. So basically like the premise of this story is a girl, our female main character, posts a TikTok looking for her late grandmother's mystery ex-man. How do I describe this? Don't listen to that. I'm just gonna read you the back. It says, Noelle is unemployed, living with her parents and grieving the loss of her beloved grandmother when she discovers decades-old photos of Graham and a smitten man tucked alongside a love letter. She creates a TikTok to search for the mystery man, which goes viral, and she's shocked when his grandson responds, a man who happens to be her high school nemesis, Theo. So basically she figures out her grandma had like this mystery man, this mystery romance, and she wants to figure out who the man is to learn more about her beloved grandma. They had like a super special bond. So she posts a TikTok, the TikTok goes viral. She hears from the grandson of this mystery man, and the grandson is her high school nemesis or enemy. Essentially, come to find out, her grandma and this mystery man had planned like this road trip. So Noelle is like, well, I want to go on this road trip for my grandma. And the mystery man's like, well, I want to come and I'm bringing my grandson. So they go on this road trip. The old man in the story is so endearing. He's so sweet. I loved him. I loved the banter. I loved the wit, and I also loved like the romance and the emotional portion of the story. I think it was really well done. I ended up giving it 3.5 stars because again, there was like a good chunk in the middle where I felt a little bit bored. Like the pacing, I think, was just kind of off for me personally, but I did really enjoy it, and I will be reading more from this author. I really want to get my hands on The X-Vows. It's her newest release, and I have it on hold at the library. So I'm waiting for that to come in because there's like a million holds in front of me, but I've heard great things about that one. I definitely want to read it. I will be continuing to buy and read books from this author based on this one. I really enjoyed it. 3.5 stars. Then I read my Patreon book club's book of the month, and that is The Love of My Afterlife. This was the most beautiful combination of magical realism and romance. It was so well done. This is another romance book with like heavy sub themes of grief, which I think is really beautiful. So essentially the premise of this book is our female main character Delphi ends up dying by choking on a hamburger, and after she dies she's in like the afterlife waiting room and she meets this man and they have like an instant connection, like sparks fly, love at first sight, soulmate type connection. So while she's in the afterlife waiting room, like waiting to go to the afterlife, kind of in that holding pattern, her spirit guide, I guess, type of thing, I guess is what you could call it, agrees to give her another shot at life and sending her back to the real world if she finds this mystery man, like her soulmate that she just ran into, back in the real world. Like if she's able to find him within 10 days, a week? 10 days. So if she's sent back to Earth with this mystery man and she's able to find him and connect him and have him kiss her within 10 days, then she can stay in her life, like she's not dying. I don't know if I'm making any sense. I'm just gonna shut up, honestly. Read this book. It was really good. I loved it. Everyone in the book club pretty much that I've read so far loved it. We're actually meeting tonight with our live meeting, so I'm excited to chat about this book with everyone in the book club. But I thought it was really well done. I thought it was emotional and romantic and funny and flirty. It just kind of had all the things. It actually like actively made me laugh out loud on multiple occasions, which was super fun, and made me want to tear up too. So really well done, phenomenal book, and the cover is absolutely beautiful. So get your hands on this one if you can. Oh, I should tell you what I rated it. I gave it 4 stars. Then I read Here for the Cake, and this is another one that's been on my TBR for far too long, and I'm kicking myself now for not reading it earlier because it was so good. So essentially this follows Paisley, and her little sister is marrying her ex-college boyfriend. So super weird environment there with her little sister marrying her ex, but Paisley agrees to be like the bigger person and be in the wedding and be supportive. Long story short, she ends up fake dating this guy, and he's an author. So in exchange for fake dating at her sister's wedding, she has agreed to like be his social media marketer kind of for his work because he's like anti-social media, but he's an aspiring author and wants to have an online presence. So they take the trip across the country. This is like fake dating, only one bed, road trip, a little bit of like, not enemies to lovers, but they definitely don't like hit it off right away. There's definitely tension and banter and angst and wit there. Super romantic at times. I loved the male main character in this book. He was such a sweetheart. I absolutely loved him. And Jennifer Milken is now an author that I will also continue to buy her books. She has a new firefighter romance coming out. I think it's called like What We Keep. I'm so excited for it. I adore her. I adored this book. I give it 4 stars. Really great read. I highly would recommend. Then my favorite book of the month, I read Out on a Limb, and this has the accidental pregnancy trope, which I normally do not like. I love this book. I'm gonna make a super bold statement here, and I'm gonna say that this book potentially has the best banter that I've ever read in a book. The way that our main characters talk to each other had me giggling and like ugly laughing, like snort laughing out loud multiple different times. It was so hilarious. It was so funny. But the relationship is so much more than just like the one night stand, accidental pregnancy, humor and banter. Like they have a deep emotional connection too. I loved both the main characters in this book, and this is another newfound author. I feel like I found a lot of new authors that I'm going to want to continue reading their books, but definitely an author that I've added every single book of hers to my wish list. Like I definitely want to continue reading her books because this was phenomenal. This knocked it out of the park. And also the disability representation in this was super beautiful too. Both the main characters are disabled, and I just thought it was really cool to have her talk about it because she is also disabled. She has the same disability as the female main character. So super cool to read about, super emotional, and also hilarious at the same time. Sweet and spicy and just everything you could want in a romance book. 4.5 stars. I love this. And then ending with my least favorite book of the month, The Perfect Couple by Ellen Hilderbrand. I wanted to read this because the show comes out on September 5th. I'm very excited for the show. And Nicole Kidman's in it and I love her. Like, she can play that kind of like eerie, creepy mystery role so well. So I was super excited. I'm like, I'm gonna read it before the show comes out. I almost DNF'd this like 4 times. So this is my 3rd Ellen book, and 3 strikes, I think I'm out. I think I'm done reading Ellen Hilderbrand. I liked Golden Girl, the first book I read by her. I didn't like The Hotel in Nantucket, and I didn't really like this one either. The thing is, the amount of complexity that she puts in her books takes away from the plot, in my opinion. Like, there's 1,001 characters, there's 14 plot lines, there's 16 different timelines going on. Like, there's just so much to keep track of that if you don't take a character map and you're not taking notes and you're not following, at least for me, maybe some of y'all are like genius level and you can fly through these and not really pay attention. Like, you have to remember every minute detail or you're done for, like you're lost. I just found myself frustrated and confused and bored, and even when I pushed through, the ending didn't feel worth it to me. It felt rushed and it felt anticlimactic. I was bummed by this one. I gave this 2 stars. I will definitely be watching the show because I didn't read all of this for nothing. I'm going to watch the show, but not a fan, and I hate to say it. I'll never say never, but I think I'm going to throw in the towel with Ellen Hilderbrand and just admit that she's not an author for me personally. All right, y'all. Well, that concludes our August reading wrap up. I hate to leave it off on such a damper, such a down note, but it is what it is. We had some really phenomenal books this month. I read the beginning of 2 series that I've been really wanting to get into for a long time, so I finally started those. All in all, it was a successful month. I'll take the win. And I feel like I'm coming out of my reading slump, which is super exciting. I'm very excited for fall cozy reading, so we're almost there. We're getting to the fall season. I will be filming and posting my fall TBR shortly, so make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss that. Very excited for all the fun, cozy fall things to come. But like I said, that is all for this month's wrap up. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you're following me on all the things. They are always linked down below, as well as my Patreon book club if you want to join. And make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss any future videos, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye, book besties.